Hello, everybody, and welcome to chapter 26 of the book of Bereishit as we continue to travel through Tanach. Chapter 26 has 35 verses and it's found in the Koren Sachs Chumash on page 166 and 167. In this chapter, we are going to be talking about Yitzchak. And whereas up until now we have been talking about different episodes that have involved Yitzchak, this is going to be the first time that we actually deal with a story where Yitzchak is the main character, so to speak. And what we're going to see is that Yitzchak faces similar situations to those that his father Abraham faced himself. So we're going to see again that there was a famine that's going to force Yitzchak to move. Although here Hashem is going to tell him not to go down to Egypt, and instead he is going to end up with Avimelech, who Abraham had also encountered. And like his father, Yitzchak is going to present Rivka as his sister out of fear. And once again, Avimelech is eventually going to learn the truth. We're going to read about Yitzchak prospering greatly, which causes tension with the Plishtim, with the Philistines. And then we are going to encounter an episode where Yitzchak is reopening the well that had been dug by Abraham and is going to restore both their physical use and their original names. He too is going to make a treaty, a covenant with Avimelech, and he is eventually going to make peace in a place called Beersheba. So if any of this sounds familiar to you, that is going to be why. With that introduction in mind, let us turn to chapter 26, verse 1. Vayihi Ra'av ba'aretz milvad hara'av harishon asher haya b'mei Avraham. Another famine afflicted the land, apart from the earlier famine in Avraham's days. Vayelech Yitzchak el Avimelech melech Plishtim Gerara. And Yitzchak went to Avimelech, king of the Plishtim, in Gerar. Verse 2, Vayera elav Adonai, Hashem appeared to him, Vayomer, and he said, Al tered Mitzrayma, do not go down to Egypt, Shechon ba'aretz asher oma elecha. Stay in the land that I will tell you of. There are different answers given as to why it was not going to be the right thing for Yitzchak to go down to Egypt. And one of these answers is that Yitzchak had the status of a korban olah, of an offered up sacrifice, which meant that it would no longer be appropriate for him or permissible for him to leave the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael. So going to Egypt is not going to be a choice for him. Instead, he is going to have to find a solution where he stays in the land. Verse 3, Gur ba'aretz hazos, live in this land, veheyeh imacha va'varacheka, and I will be with you and I will bless you. Ki lecha ulezaracha etain es kol haratzos ha'el, I am going to give all these lands to you and your descendants. V'hakimosi es hashvuah, and I am going to fulfill the oath asher nishbati la'Avraham avicha, that I swore to Avraham your father. Verse 4, V'hirbesi es zaracha k'chochvei hashamayim, I will make your descendants as many as the stars of the heavens. V'nosati lezaracha es kol ha'aratzos ha'el, and I will give them all these lands. V'hisbaruchu b'zaracha kol goy ha'aretz, and all the nations of the earth will bless themselves by your descendants. Verse 5, Akev, because Asher Shema Avraham B'koli, because Avraham listened to my voice, Vayishmor Mishmarti, and observed my safeguards, protected my safeguards, Mitzvosai, Chukosai, V'sorosai, my commandments, my decrees, and my Torahs. Verse 6, Vayeshev Yitzchak Bigrar. So Yitzchak settled in Gerar. Verse 7, Vayishalu Anshe Hamakom Leishto, and the men, the male residents of the place, inquired after his wife. Vayomer Achosihi, and he said, she is my sister. Ki arei lemor ishti, for he was afraid to say that she was his wife. Then Yahaguni Anshe Hamakom al Rivka ki tovas marahi, because the men of the place might kill me for Rivka, he thought, because she is so beautiful. Verse 8, Vahi ki archu lo sham hayamim. After he was there for some time, Vayashketh Avimelech melech Plishtim ba'at hachalon. Avimelech, the king of the Plishtim, looked down from a window. Vayar v'hine Yitzchak mitzachek es Rivka ishto. And he saw Yitzchak enjoying himself with his wife Rivka. Different interpretations as to what this would mean, but whatever degree of intimacy or familiarity they were interacting with each other with, it prompts Avimelech to deduce that this is not a brother-sister relationship, but clearly something much deeper and closer. Verse 9, Vayikra Avimelech liYitzchak. Avimelech summoned Yitzchak, Vayomer, and he said, Achine ishtachahi. She is your wife. Ve'echa marta achlosihi. So why did you say she is my sister? Vayomer elav Yitzchak. Yitzchak said to him, Yomarti pen amus aleha. I said I thought I might die because of her. Verse 10. Vayomer Avimelech, and Avimelech said, Ma zos asisa lanu? What is this that you have done to us? Kimat shachava chata'an eseshtecha, ve'veisa aleinu Hashem. One of the people might have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us. Verse 11. Vayitzav Avimelech es kol ha'am lemor. Avimelech then ordered all of his people, saying, Hanogea ba'ish hazeh uve'ishto mos yumas. Whoever touches this man or his wife will surely die, will be put to death. Verse 12. Vayizra Yitzchak ba'aretz hahi. Yitzchak planted crops in that land. Vayimsa b'shana hahi, and that year he reaped mea she'arim, 100-fold. Vayivarchehu Adonai, because Hashem had blessed him. Verse 13. Vayigdal ha'ish, the man became great, the man became rich. Vayelech haloch v'gadel ad ki gadal ma'od, and he prospered more and more until he became very wealthy. Verse 14, Vayhi lo miknetzon, he had herds of sheep, and miknei vakar, and flocks of herds, va'avuda rabbah, and many enterprises, or as Rabbi Sachs translates, a large retinue of servants, vaikanu oso plishtim, and the plishtim envied him. Verse 15, V'chol ha'be'eros asher chafru avdei aviv b'mei Avraham aviv, and all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Avraham his father, sitmum plishtim vaymalum afar. They were blocked up and filled with earth. And we see here a classic case where anti-Semites just cannot allow for Jewish people to be successful. Verse 16, Vayomer Avimelech el Yitzchak. Avimelech said to Yitzchak, Lech mi'imanu, go, move away from us, ki atzamta mimenu me'od, because you have become much too powerful for us. Verse 17, Vayelech misham Yitzchak. So Yitzchak moved away from there. Vayachan b'nachal Gerar, vayeshev sham, and he encamped in Nachal Gerar, in the valley of Gerar, and he settled there. Verse 18, Vayashav Yitzchak, vayachpor es be'eros hamayim asher chafru b'mei Avraham aviv. And he went back and he reopened the wells of water that had been dug in the days of Avraham his father by Satmum Plishtim Achari Mos Avraham, which the Plishtim had closed up after Avraham's death. Vaikra lahen Shemos, Kashemos asher kara lahen aviv. And he gave them the same names that his father had given them. Verse 19, Vayechperu avdei Yitzchak banachal. Yitzchak's servants dug in the valley. Va'imsu sham be'er mayim chayim, and they discovered there a well of fresh water. Verse 20, Vayarivu roi Gurar im roi Yitzchak. But the shepherds of Gurar quarreled with the shepherds of Yitzchak, Lamor, saying, Lanu hamayim, the water is ours. Vaikra shem habe'er, so he called the well Esek, ki hisasku imo, because they contended with him there. Verse 21, Vayachpe'u be'er acheres, Vayarivu gam aleha. They dug another well, and there was a quarrel about that one too. Right, Krashima Sitna, and so he called that one Sitna. Verse 22, Vayatek Misham, he moved on from there, Vayachpo be'er acheres, v'lo ravu aleha. He dug another well, and this time they did not quarrel over it. Vayikra Shema Rechavos. So he named this one Rechavos. Vayomer ki atar hichiv Adonai lanu ufarinu va'aretz. And he said, for now Hashem has granted us ample space, and we can be fruitful in the land. Verse 23, Vayal Misham Be'er Shava. From there he went up to Be'er Sheva. Verse 24, Vayera elav Adonai balayla hahu, and Hashem appeared to him that night. Vayomer, and he said, Anochi Elohei Avraham Avicha, I am the God of your father Avraham. Al tira, do not be afraid. Ki etacha Anochi, for I am with you. Uverachticha v'hirbesi es zaracha ba'avur Avraham avdi. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for the sake of Avraham my servant. Verse 25. Vayiven sham mizbeach, and Yitzchak built an altar there. Vayikra b'shem Adonai, vayet sham ahalo, and called on the name of Hashem, and he pitched his tent there. Vayuchu sham avdei Yitzchak be'er, and his servants dug a well there. Verse 26. Va'avimelech halach elav migrar. Avimelech came to him from Gerar, va'achuzas merei Ehu, with a group of his friends, Ufichol Sartzva'o, and Pichol the commander of his troops. Verse 27, Vayomer Alehem Yitzchak, and Yitzchak said to them, Madua basem elai, why have you come to me? Va'atem sneisem osi, you hate me, v'tshalchuni me'itachem, and you've sent me away from you. Verse 28, Vayomeru, and they said, Ra'u ra'inu ki haya Adonai imach, we have seen clearly that Hashem is with you. Vanomer, and so we want to say, Tehina Allah beinosenu beinenu uveinecha, let there be a pact between you and us. V'nichrasa v'ris imach, and let us make a covenant with you. Verse 29, Im ta'aseh imanu ra'a, If you do evil with us, ka'asher lo negalnucha, just as we have not touched you, v'ka'asher asinu imacha rak tov, and just as we have done with you only good, v'nashalechacha b'shalom, and sent you away in peace, ata baruch Adonai. Now Hashem should bless you. Verse 30, Vayas lahem mishteh, vayochlu vayishtu. Yitzchak made for them a feast, and they ate and they drank. Classic attempt of trying to appease our non-Jewish neighbors. Verse 31, Vayashkimu vaboker, and they got up early in the morning. Vayshavu ish la'achiv, they exchanged oaths. Vayshalchem Yitzchak, Yitzchak sent them on their way. Vayelchu me'ito b'shalom, and they parted from him in peace. Verse 32, Vayehi bayomahu, and that day, Vayavo avdei Yitzchak, Yitzchak's servants came, Vayagidu lo al odos habe'er asher chafaru, and told him about the well that they had dug. Vayomeru lo matzanu mayim, and they said to him, we have found water. Verse 33, Vaikra osa Shiva, he named it Shiva, Al Kain Shem Ha'ir, which is why the town is called Be'er Sheva, Ad Hayom Hazeh, to this day. And if we pay attention, it would seem that Avraham may have named only a location, Be'er Sheva, and here Yitzchak is naming this place, this whole city, this whole area, Be'er Sheva. And as we come to the last couple of verses of chapter 26, we seem to have a slight deviation here, completely different theme, encapsulated into just a couple of verses where we seem to talk about Esav. Vayhi Esav ben Arbaim Shana, when Esav was 40 years old, Vayikach Isha, he took a wife, Es Yehudis bas Be'eri Hachiti. He took Yehudis, the daughter of Be'eri Hachiti, the Hittite, Ves Basmas bas Elon Hachiti, and Basmas, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. And chapter 26 concludes with verse 35, Vatihiyena moras ruach liyitzchak ulerivka. These were a source of bitter sorrow to Yitzchak and Rivka. And that brings us to the end of chapter 26. In chapter 27, we're going to read about the very curious episode with Yaakov taking the blessings instead of Esav, and the deception that he had to go to be able to achieve that. And this is going to lead to Esav wanting to kill Yaakov and Yaakov having to flee and run away. I look forward to learning all of that with you, and in the meantime, have a wonderful and meaningful day.